where I've done, and I've been very organized with trial and error, made a lot of notes, and I'm a guinea pig on myself. So if something does end up working for me, then I have clients who want to try it, and then it starts to, you have a bigger amount of people that are doing it, and you can see whether it's effective. And in my opinion, you know, look, the guy with the PhD is always going to say that guys with PhDs are way smarter than people without. Maybe, but I would take, and again, maybe it's because I don't have one and I have the trial and error and the experience, I would always want to go with someone who had seen it happen, tried it, done it a million different ways, and come to a conclusion that way. That's just me. What you guys want is entirely up to you. That's what I want. So then what I do is I just surround myself with other people who have PhDs, and then it's the best of both worlds.
Sir, what you just talked about a while ago, that is basically a research on your own. What you're trial and error?
My trial and error?
Yeah, that's a research on your own.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
I just don't get any credit for it. I don't have any paper on the wall that says, damn, you're smart.
And not because of a job that's not you can't drive the car.
Fair enough. Okay, I appreciate that.
And most of the time, the PhD guys have the never lived this in their life.
Right.
So how you can tell
what you need is you need someone who has both, and you don't usually find it.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. It's what it is even though I've been here for a week, I'm better than I was. My wife picks on me because she has to translate for me. Like I stand there like, whoa. Like I don't get the accent. It's cool. It is cool. I tried it too. I take all the H's out and I sound stupid. Like everything, and my wife's looking at me like, what the hell are you trying to do? Anyway, it is very cool, but it's taking me a week to figure it out. Again, just got cardio and I can get into nutrition. The cardio just doesn't take a whole lot of time for me to talk about for that reason. I don't want to give it any more importance or any more significance than I feel that it needs. Put it in, take it out, just like you would up your calories, change your calories, keep your body off balance. Body always has to be off balance. I mean, anytime your body can get used to what it's doing, it's just going to sit there. It likes to sit there. It likes to not do anything. The body doesn't want a lot of muscle. It doesn't. It doesn't want a whole lot of body fat. You got to really work to get you, and you know too. You got to work to put on some body fat. That's why people go, you know what, this is not happening fast enough. Well, you put it on over 5 to 10 years and you expect it to be off in 5 weeks. That really isn't how the game works. So you got to work equally as hard to get it off as you did put it on this to get it off. And I say that being like, I'm not picking on anybody, but I did that this week. Crates all over my face. Nutrition supplement skip loading. This one is, this one I could talk forever. This always takes a while. Nutrition is my thing. And I changed them, I separated them because basic nutrition with your high protein, I mean, there's just, everybody's known for something, I guess. Dave Palumbo is a keto guy. Chris Aceto is a high carb guy. I'm not known for that. I'm known for eating a lot of pancakes and Pop-Tarts and the high carb skip loading. So if you, I think I just got you, you opened your eyes a little bit right there. What's this guy? What is he talking about? I have battled for the reasons, because of the way that my dieting is relatively unorthodox. I've battled with a lot of critics over the years because it seems at first to be very much like a fad type of diet. When you say, oh, I can get you ready for a show eating Pop-Tarts and pancakes, you know, that's a line you would see like on an infomercial or on Oprah or something, I don't know. So it's not, and that's a little misleading anyway because you don't eat that stuff every day. And you know, I don't know what you guys know as far as the other things that are out there, the novel approaches out there now with if it fits your macros and what is that? IIF. Yeah, just put a bunch of letters with it and all of a sudden it's important stuff, yeah. What was the other one? fasting, what was it? Intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting. Yeah, so you got IF, you got IIF, OPP, OU812, I don't know, there's so many of them I can't keep track of. But part of the reason for that is because the market with the nutritionists is saturated anyway, and they know, they're smart enough to know nobody's going to pay attention to me unless I come out with something ridiculous. And you can only really, I mean, there's only so much you can do. And then fingers have been pointed at me and said, well, wait a minute, you can't be too critical because you have your protocol that seems, you know, was quite unorthodox. Mine is, but mine is logical and has been proven over thousands of clients over 10, 12 years. So I always say, look, I'm not here to sell anybody on anything. I just put the information out that you guys decide if it's something that you're interested in doing, or if you think it's nuts and it doesn't work, I'm fine either way. I'm going to step on stage the next time I get up there with no skin, and so are my clients. It's not something that I just don't spend time beating it down people, and I don't do it on the internet either. People make up their own minds, they come to their own conclusions. That's a whole better way to present your ideas, and if they're on board, they're on board. The other part is if someone comes to work with me and they're not on board, or they're not sure, but I need to prove it to them, I don't like that either. You either know how good I am, you understand my reputation, and that's why you came to me, or you don't. You can work with somebody else. I'm cool with that, you know. But it's a trust issue too, much like we were saying with trainers. If you trust that the guy you're working with and paying money to knows what he's talking about, you shouldn't be listening to anybody else either, and you should be completely on board with doing what he's doing. You're like the only white guy in here. He's like, the only white dude. Okay. That's funny. And the reason that I bring up about the high carb, low carb, high fat, everybody's got their little niche and thing they're known for. I don't do that. My method, I do have the skiploading, which is high carbs on the weekend, and this is the analogy or the metaphor or the little story that I use. Burning body fat over weeks is kind of like you have this fire that you need to keep going for, say, 12 weeks. You got this big old pile of wood. Your body fat. Yeah? I'm going to help you. I'm going to explain my metaphor as we go. I know. So what you do is you start off this little fire and you put, some wood on there, but you got to keep it going every day. It can't burn out because you got to get through all this wood. I mean, essentially, the competition is get through this pile of wood, which is, like I said, body fat. You got to get rid of all this body fat. The only way to do that is to dump it on the fire. So you dump it on the fire, but throughout the course of the week, that fire is going to burn down. It's going to start to come down. You're going to have embers. You're going to be like, oh, okay, it's still burning. Metabolism. You feel me? Work with me here. And you come along on Sundays, and you just pour a bunch of gasoline on that thing. And then you can throw more fire on there. And then as that week progresses, it comes down. It's coming down again. It's slowing down. You got embers, and you throw gas on it. The gas is essentially carbohydrates, refined, fast-acting carbohydrates. Okay, once a week on the weekend. So the diet throughout the week is just a lot like any other diet would be. Is it low carb? Is it high carb? Is it high? I don't know anybody's individual situation, and it is individual. Some people can take in 400 calories or 400 grams of carbs a day and get really, really lean. My fat ass can't take in any carbs during the day for the week, or I won't get lean. So that might be the difference, say, between you and I. I'm 43. When I was 25, I could do that. But now, not only am I older, but I also don't move a whole lot because I work from home. So my idea of cardio is like going to the post office. Because I just don't go anywhere. Or the supermarket, that sort of thing. Which is another point that I need to make about cardio too before I forget. And that is, coming back to everybody has different variables. 30 minutes of cardio, to me, is huge because I don't move that much. But 30 minutes of cardio to a trainer who might be walking around all day for 12 hours, or an ER nurse, and I don't know why I'm using my buddy Kenneth Banks. There's a little shout out to Kenneth. He just got done doing a show, dropped 80 or 90 pounds, is an ER nurse. You know what I'm talking about, Shanique? Okay. And he's an ER nurse who works like 12-hour shifts. So 30 minutes of cardio to him won't impact him anywhere near what it will impact someone who doesn't move like I do. So those things have to be taken into consideration too. Not only if you're trying to fix your own cardio, but if you're putting together cardio for a client, a lot of times that's overlooked. 30 minutes to one person is not 30 minutes to the other person. Anyway, and ideally you let the diet do the work. Let the diet do most of the work and let the cardio do as little work as possible. Anyway, coming back to the diet, like I say, during the week, everybody's going to be a little bit different. You got to take into consideration, how you respond to carbohydrates, whether your activity level is high, how much you train. Look, high volume training, you can take in more carbs. You're going to need more carbs. Lower volume training, high intensity like a DC or a Dorian Yates, high intensity technique, you're not going to need as many carbohydrates. You're not going to need as many calories. You're not training as frequently, and you're not as high volume. You're not depleting muscle. When you deplete a muscle, some of you may know this, but for those who don't, when you work a muscle for a while with weight training, you're depleting it of glycogen, which is essentially stored carbohydrate. You're going to burn more body fat when those muscles are depleted of glycogen, but they also don't look as good either. Like this. Well, actually, I'm probably kind of full right now. But nonetheless, they get flat. And I say flat and fat are only one letter off. Fat, if a muscle is flat and not pushing against your skin, and this is even for competitors too, that's why it's so important that you're not flat when you get ready for, or when you're going on stage for a show, because if you are, that skin isn't going to be tight over the top of that muscle, and it's going to look completely different. And you will look soft, and you will look kind of fat. Maybe not fat, fat isn't, I guess, the best word, but you're going to look soft. So from a bodybuilding standpoint, or anybody here who's looking to get into better shape, that would be to us that you were maybe fatter than you wanted to be, or you're carrying a few extra pounds of body fat that you didn't want. So going through the week, you got to figure out where your calories need to be, where your macros need to be, and that is a very complicated, it's complicated for me to tell you. I would almost have to look at what you're doing and that sort of thing, but you never want to eliminate, in my opinion, any one macro. You still need them all. Now, maybe your carbs are coming from vegetables, because mine have to come from vegetables. I can't take in a lot of starchy carbs, and a lot of people are like that. They may even metabolically be able to handle those calories, but they can't digest them very well. Get all distended, get all gassy, and I'm serious when I say it, because if you eat enough oatmeal and all of a sudden you're gassy and you think it's funny, because guys think it's funny, I think it's funny, and I'm 43 years old. I'm just immature like that. But the point is your body isn't digesting or processing that food very well, then you need to change it out. And carbs are like that. Protein isn't usually like that. Good and healthy fats aren't usually like that. Usually when you have some kind of a problem with digestion, it's almost always carbohydrate related. Then you can get into gluten and all that kind of mess too. I try not to come at my nutrition when I'm talking to people from those types, because there's just so many different things that you could be intolerant to or have allergies to that, I mean, it's almost not worth me discussing, because if you are having, this is what I always say, if you're having issues and you can't figure out what it is, start eliminating foods one at a time. Because if you eliminate 3 or 4 at a time, you make too many changes, you're not going to know what's wrong. You may get rid of the problem, but you may not know exactly what it is. And talk to your doctor. Again, I'm a nutritionist. I work with athletes and people who want to get into shape. I do not claim the health end of it at all. I can't. My conscience won't allow me to do it. I say you're healthier, leaner, and you're healthier doing what I'm telling you to do, in the sense that if you're going to get leaner and you're going to get into better shape, yeah, you're healthier. But that's as far as I'm willing to take it. I got a conscience. So I'm not a doctor, and I don't blame on you. Throughout the course of the week, though, you would go through, with my dieting protocol, you would go through dieting, you would lose, the goal is to lose 1 to 2 pounds throughout the week with the restricted, lower calories. Still shouldn't be starving, but that's a balance issue. You got to be taking in as many calories as you can take in to lose weight.
Say that again. Say that again.
You need to take in as many, and it's really important. You need to take in as many calories as you can take in to lose weight.
Everybody, yeah, take that. I just want to
Yeah, and it's real easy to, it's real easy to lose weight if you just cut your calories and then all of a sudden, oh, I lost 4 pounds, and you're not taking in. But what you're doing is it isn't a weekly process. Like, you need to not only be focused on this week, but it's long term. So what happens is if you cut your calories too low, you're going, for only a week or two, you're going to lose that weight initially, and then you're going to have nowhere to go. And I referred to it in my DVD that I did a couple years ago, is the ceiling in the basement. And when I say someone is at the ceiling or closer to the ceiling, then that means you've got a lot of options before you start running out of them when you get to the basement. If I say you're in the basement, you're running out of options. When I say you're running out of options during the diet, what will bring that ceiling down is increasing cardio, so you're burning more calories, which is doing more work, cutting calories from your diet, and as you do these things over the course of the week, look, if you've added a ton of cardio and you've cut your calories, and it's only 5 weeks into what is essentially a 12 or 20 week diet, and you're already closing in and you're getting close to the basement, what are your options when you stop progressing? You don't have many options. You keep the ceiling high by losing as much weight as you can on limited amount of cardio, high amount of calories, the highest amount of calories you can take and still lose weight. That's actually feeding your metabolism anyway. It's essentially what we're talking about. You're keeping that fire burning by putting more wood out. Gas is what I was talking about, and I'll get to that in a minute, which is really just kind of piling on carbs on the weekends to keep the metabolism real strong. So again, going through the week, taking as many calories as you can, shooting for, and it depends on, look, if you're way overweight, you said you lost, what, 60 pounds or something like that? What was that, 50? 54. Okay, 54. So when you started out, if you were losing 3, 4, 5 pounds a week for a couple weeks, that would be okay. You probably couldn't sustain that without losing it too quickly after 3 or 4 weeks. But initially you could, because you have a lot of weight to lose. There's nothing nothing that bothers me more than when I see a trainer or someone who worked with someone, they're 300 pounds, and they're telling them, no, you lost 3 pounds this week, we got to back off to only 1 or 2. The cat weighs 300 pounds, give him a break, he can lose weight faster than that. When you're talking 1 or 2 pounds, you're talking someone who's only overweight 25 pounds. I mean, I just throw that number out there. Everybody's different. But then you're losing 1 or 2 pounds, you don't want to sacrifice muscle tissue, okay, that's cool. But even then, if you're going to lose 3 or 4 pounds for a couple weeks and then it backs off to a couple, then that's great, that's fine. If you're going to sustain that at 3 or 4 or even 5 pounds, then you're probably losing too much weight. And then you would have to look at it and go, you don't just look at how much weight you're losing, you also are looking at things like strength. Am I holding my strength in the gym? Because that's a huge indicator of whether you're hanging on the muscle tissue. And as I said before, if you're holding your strength, you're almost certainly not losing muscle tissue. You just can't hold strength and lose muscle tissue. It just doesn't work. Yeah.
Extra calories from, right? Would you lose, like, let's say, good calories instead of bad calories, or do you get 12 each from all?
For the skip loading or during the week? Skip loading?
Yeah,
Okay.
skip loading.
That's where I'm going. Yeah, and that's where I'm going. During the week, everything's clean. Everything is, and when I say clean, I always say, look, if you can get it out of the ground, you're in pretty good shape. Your quality proteins, your good fats. I don't think anybody needs to take in any more carbohydrates, even if they're clean, any more carbohydrate than they really need to stay a little full, and when I say full, muscle full, and to provide the energy that they need to get through their workouts. I think anything above that is, it's kind of wasteful. I just don't think you need it. If you still need to make up calories, good fats will satiate, they'll keep you more satisfied, and carbohydrate will. They hang around longer, and that's a leptin issue as well. And I don't even like to discuss leptin half the time because I don't think they've made, anybody familiar, have you heard the word leptin? They use it a lot with supplements now because it's a new catchphrase that everybody equates to, ooh, leptin has to do with fat burning. But they don't, in my opinion, they just don't know very much about it yet anyway. They know that yes, the fat cell signals the brain and all that, but everybody, they've already shown that they don't really understand the signaling and what it's telling the brain. So, I mean, I think there's still a lot more research there, so I try to leave it alone as much as I can. Partly because I think people get caught up in those words and those catchphrases, and I don't think it matters. Coming around to this guy's question here with the skip loading. The skip loading is basically when we get to the weekend and we're talking about pouring gas on the fire to bump your fat burning furnace up for the following week. You're going to dump refined low fat carbohydrates on there, and this is where it gets, oh my goodness, how can I do that? And those refined low fat carbohydrates are, I mean, as an example, from you know, pancakes or bread or white rice or granola. And I'm trying to, you know, I'm in the United States, so I'm trying to make sure too, because we're here in Jamaica, that you guys have the same food. Sometimes I'm dealing with.
We have one that Paul consumes. It's called Trelawney Yellow Yam.
Okay.
That's not true. That's all not true.
That's what we call food.
Okay. So you want to go with the process, and it's usually the first question I get is why the process. Process is very, very fast. When it's low fat and it's highly processed where there's no fiber, that carbohydrate hits your system, hits your bloodstream very quickly. Okay? When it hits your system quickly, when you're depleted, it gets stored very quickly as well, because then it becomes an insulin game and insulin sensitivity and things like that. Basically, to make it simple, when you're depleted, and when your muscles are depleted, your body will store carbohydrate very, very quickly and very, very efficiently. So it also, it's twofold. Not only will it store it efficiently, but it also, when you get a lot of those calories in there, it affects your metabolism so much by amping. I mean, you'll get warm. I don't know if you've been dieting and you eat a big meal, maybe you just cheat, like I gotta have something. And all of a sudden you get all warm and you're sweaty, you're like, dang, what is going on? Your temperature is kicking up because your metabolism is responding to the food, pouring gas on the fire. So it's getting hotter. When you do that, and I say a Sunday, it can be any day. It just tends to work for my clients better, and it worked for me better to do it on Saturday or Sunday because you're not working. People tend to have more downtime on the weekend to be able, because sometimes you may start off a diet and only have 2 or 3 hours, a 2 or 3 hour window of eating these carbs or skip loading. But it may go to the point where, especially if you're doing a show, which is the extreme end of it, you may be loading for 16 hours from the time you get up in the morning to the time you go to bed. And it becomes, I don't want to say force feeding, but you got to be eating. If you have any room in your stomach, you're hungry, you got to eat. And that's where it becomes, everybody thinks, oh, that sounds awesome, I get to eat. It's about awesome for half of the first meal of the day. And then after that, you're like, oh my God, this is terrible. I don't want to eat. Well, I remember my wife, I don't want to eat anymore. You will eat more pancakes. And you will get lean. She got to the point where she'd rather be dieting another 6 days. But the point is, when you come back to the dieting the next day, or the following, the next day and then into the next week, what you've done essentially is you pour all those calories on there. Again, it's like pouring gas on a fire. Now you've got this raging fire, and you're back to your regular diet, and you're burning more body fat that following week. I've worked with so many people with this over the course of 10, 12 years, myself included, with the contests I've done from 2002 until, I just competed last year, about a year ago. And sometimes the skip load itself will keep you from it'll keep you progressing and losing body fat week to week. That I've gone 2 and 3 months without changing anything else in my diet at all, except the skip load. So it's pretty funny sometimes. And I've even gone through preps, entire preps, and we look back and went, wow, we never made a diet change. That's the exception to the rule, but it does happen. Small percentage of the time. So the point is that I'm trying to show the impact that metabolic reset every week has. Some diets will advocate for a cheat meal, and it's along the same. It's the same idea or the same concept. My argument is a cheat meal doesn't provide enough calories to truly pour. It's like, I don't know, you take a shot glass and you pour gas on it. Ooh, that's not going to do a whole lot. So, you know, the guys who talk about Dave Colombo and stuff, he is a nutritionist as well, and he advocates for cheat meals. But I've had a lot of people come to me over the years and work with me who had worked on his type of dieting prior, and they knew that there just wasn't enough food. They weren't getting a metabolic response out of that one meal. And then in the course of a couple weeks, I've got a meeting anywhere from 6 to 8 to 10 to 12 hours a day on this Saturday or Sunday with carbs, and then they're progressing again, and they're getting leaner. And when I say lean, I'm talking like gross lean. Like you don't have skin, and like you. Yeah, that's when a dude goes, oh, because dudes are weird like that. But I also work with, too, the other, and I get this question a lot, is whether it is, you know, just something for guys, the diet, and it's not. There is no difference when you get into metabolism and dieting. There are subtle differences with hormones, but it's not enough to change. You know, men and women don't eat different foods. They may eat different calories. You may have, you know, one person may have a longer Skiploading, we may taking in more calories during the week than someone else. But I've had 120-pound figure girls eating all day on Sunday for 16 hours, and dudes who can only do 6 or 8 hours. So it's pretty individual. And again, it comes back to things like we were talking about before. What does that person do during the day for a job, and are they on their feet all the time? Are they younger? Hormonally, what's the difference? You know, from a hormone standpoint, there are variables in there. There are other factors that make everybody and everybody's approach individual. Concepts, though, principles remain the same. Young, old, male, female, competitor, non-competitor. You don't have to be a competitor to use it either. I've even used the protocol of people who don't even weight train, and they've done very well too. So in 4 or 5 years, it'll probably be on Dr. Oz, and he'll be taking credit for it. And because he's got doctor before his name, he's got a TV audience. What do you do? Yeah.
I'm trying to understand this Skiploading. So what is it that during the week you have low carb or no carb?
Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be no carb or low carb, but again, it's relative when you say low carb. It means you have to be in a caloric deficit so that you are losing weight, burning body fat, essentially. So where do you put those carbs? It's an individual thing. I just say that the carbs need to be...
So during the week you need that deficit?
Yes, you do need the deficit.
On the weekend you do.
Yeah, on the weekend, then you'll have that time frame where you're loading those carbohydrates. And like I said, when you first start,